You are a police officer called to the aftermath of a horror movie scene. While there, you slowly realize the monster/killer was the victim and the helpless teens were the psychopaths. Being called to a scene in the middle of the night is never a good sign for a detective. After all, there is a night shift for a reason. Arriving at the house where the event happened, I saw blood everywhere. 3 teenagers were huddled up, under a blanket, as the EMT were trying to calm them down. They shivered, and didn't even look up, but, for some reason to me at least, they didn't look shaken at all. They weren't explaining the situation, they barely talked, they just shivered, and that's all, but that's a common trauma response, shutting down, so I shouldn't be too skeptic. I was not a people person, so I went ahead and checked the scene first. Following the blood trails, I found messed up rooms, broken furniture, holes in the wall. Things were looking weird from the start. While blood was everywhere, it was in patches, spots, lines, by no means the blood of 3, no, 4 people. After all, the psychopath was killed. Also, the things destroyed, some were cut, some were pummeled, some were stabbed. While the murderer theoretically was chasing the kids with a cleaver? Taking my phone out, I started going through the rooms again, until I arrived in the kitchen, where the man who chased the kids was lying dead. He was, indeed tall, and a bit weird. After all, I knew the guy. A bit of a weirdo, he worked as a mechanic, and did whatever old Jeff, the auto shop's owner, said to him. Living on his own, no pets, no family. I used to be called as a rookie to his house on welfare checks, when dude forgot to go to work 2 to 3 days in a row, because he started watching a TV show. Looking at him, he was riddled with wounds. Face bashed in, clothes riddles with holes, and tear marks, his hand barely holding the cleaver, his left hand. Dude was right-handed. I sighed, and left to discuss with my boss. The kids are the murderers? Matthew, they are 16 and 15-year-old children. The man was 3 times their size. A well-known creep, and while not his fault, he was a bit behind with matters of the mind, my boss sighed. Throwing her the pics of the crime scene, of the supposed murderer and the supposed victims, I sighed. The kids present bruises, and cuts that are shallow, and thin, as if made with a knife. Dude had a cleaver. The house is riddled with random fighting marks, but most of them could be done while tussling. The man tried to escape, destroying furniture in his terror, his elbow making the holes in the walls, as he tried to get the kids off of his back. His neck is cut. Jeremy, what kind of self-defense maneuver requires slitting the throat of the attacker? I asked. Why would they do it? He asked. Because they knew how he is seen by society. One of the kids lives near the man, so they would know of his quirks. Jeremy, the man was 35 years old, with no priors. And now suddenly, he decided to entrap, and try to kill 3 kids? In a house on the other side of the city? I said. Jeremy just sighed, and told me he will allow me to continue the investigation, while telling the public that there are some complications with the man's documents. This will allow me to discuss with the kids, and to see, just why they did this.